Okay, welcome everybody to what was yesterday's webinar, but we're reshooting it. There was a technical hitch. Fantastic. Anyway, let's roll. Today we're talking about marketing, cash flow, planning for the new financial year. And even though I'm looking off to the side, it's because I'm running too many screens here and I'm trying to find my slideshow. There we go. Look at that. Awesome. Okay. All right. Now, I know you're saying, Kelby, you only spoke about cash flow at the end of last year. You've spent the last 3 months talking about planning, like we did all these plans in December. What are you doing, man? You're crazy. Here's the thing. And for those of you who have been in on my consulting sessions in the last few days, this is going to sound very, very familiar. You've got a 3-year plan, all right? You know where you want to be. And that's written in pretty dark pencil. And you've sat down and said, okay, so for the next 12 months, to get to where we want to go, for the next 12 months, here's our marketing strategy. Here's the plan we're going to follow, and here's the cash flow that's going to make all that work, right? We've run it through. We know what our costs are. We know what revenue we're looking at. We've mapped it out. Here we go, right? You don't just sit and forget with that stuff, all right? Like I was talking to one of my clients this morning. I said, hey, listen, we're going to revise this every 6 months, all right? This is a 12-month plan to achieve your 3 years goals that we're going to change every 6 months. Because business is not static, okay? You try things, and with marketing, it's not a try and then throw it aside if it doesn't work. It's a, hey, we're going to run with this for 6 to 12 months. But every 6 months, we're going to do a formal review of where you're at, okay? And maybe there's some new stuff that come up that you want to tap into. You've got to stay nimble and flexible. Maybe there's stuff that's really not working. It was a good idea at the time, but now we can see the writing on the wall. So we change, we adapt, we move, and we grow. So here we go, the 6-month review. New financial year is kicking off in a couple of months. Let me share screen. If I can do that without killing the recording this time would be fantastic. And here we go. So we're away. Marketing and cash flow, planning for the new financial year. Sorry, Nike, but just do it now. All right, just get into it. All right, now, my usual way of looking at things, with everything that's going on, we've got the end of financial year coming up. We're trying to get our numbers into order. We want to make sure that we haven't spent too much, that we haven't spent too little, that everything's rocking and rolling, that the accountant lined up. We don't want to spend too much tax. And suddenly it's July. We take a breather and we go, okay, let's keep going. Well, it's time to actually sit down now and say, all right, we've got everything going on for the end of the financial year. We're planning end of financial year sales campaigns. We're looking at what we need from a business point of view in terms of our resources. While we're doing that, let's just plan out the 12 months from the 1st of July. Okay. Yes, you're overloaded. It's exciting. It's scary. That's cool. That's normal. If you're sitting back thinking it's just another day in the office, I think we need to reset your goals a little bit, make them a bit bigger, a bit more challenging. All righty. But despite all that, there are systems there to help. We're going to dive into those right now. We'll talk about some of your office systems that you're going to need, and then we'll dive into cash flow, and then we'll dive into marketing. Then there's a surprise at the end, which is a bit of a bonus for those of you who didn't see it yesterday because it wasn't there yesterday, and then we'll wrap it up. So systems. With the systems that you've got, what do you want to achieve? Okay. Do you have sales and revenue targets? How many potential customers do you want to bring on board? What about all your existing customers? Okay, have you got ways of making sure they stay with you? And we'll talk later about how important that is. What about the stuff you need to do in the business, like the actual capacity building things that you need to do? Have you done them? Okay. What about the actual money that's going to pay for all this? Have you actually looked at what it's going to cost? Have you actually got the cash flow to fund this growth and these sales? All right, systems, first up. All right, and that's if you come back, we'll just go back one step for a second. Sales targets, potential customers, actual customers. Your CRM is your best friend when it comes to potential and actual customers, okay? We are looking at how do you reach out to them? How do you know if that's being effective? And how do you make sure that your message is on song? Right? So CRMs, what are they? Okay, customer relationship management or contact relationship management systems is probably more accurate, where you've basically got your entire contact database, right? All of your customers, potential customers, your suppliers, your staff, everybody you touch, all your associates, you've got it there in one spot. And then you can segment that out into categories and lists of people based on certain criteria. Are they an existing customer? Are they an existing customer with certain characteristics? Are they simply a bunch of suppliers? Are they people who provide advice to you, your accountant, your lawyer, your business strategist like myself? Are they potential customers? And they're the ones we're going to have a chat about right now. Okay. Are they all segmented out? Have you got that in one place? Okay. The other thing is too, and again, chatting with a client this morning who does all this outreach through Gmail or Outlook, one or the other. I think it's Outlook. That's awesome. I say, how do you know if your email has actually been read? How do you know if it just didn't go straight to the junk bin? Right? How do you know if they don't want to get any more emails from you? If you're just using your email server, you've got no idea about any of that. You'll know if it bounces because it'll come back. And that's about as much of a hint as you're going to get. You're using a CRM properly, you will know who's opened your email, who's clicked on any links that are in the email, which links they've clicked on and how many times, like how keen are they? Because they're going to be your first point of call. Those people who are ultra engaged, they're the ones you're going to chat to first. Has it gone to spam, right, to junk mail? In which case you might want to get on the phone and just let them know that you did send them an email, it has gone to junk, but they might dive in and having a quick squiz. Have they unsubscribed? Right, the Spam Act is no joke. You do not want to muck around with that. So make sure you've got the option to unsubscribe from your marketing. How many people have actually put a spam report on you? That'd be a bit harsh. Right? Your CRM will give you all that data. It'll give you the market intelligence you need to ensure that you're communicating effectively. Right? That's why you need one. Just for that alone, that's why you need one. And there's a ton of free options out there. How many options? Oh my goodness. Think of a number, double it, square it, and then add the number you first thought of, and then multiply that by your kids' birth dates. There are a million of them. For those of you who have seen any of my work or done any work with me, you know what I'm going to say next. HubSpot. You guessed it. All right, cool. Free version of HubSpot for small and micro. It's a killer. You've also got Active Campaign. You've got Keep. You've got in Capsule, the on Infusionsoft. There is an absolute ton. Zoho has a CRM built into it. Absolute ton of them out there. Okay, Klaviyo, there's millions of them. Try a few out. If you're a small business, you're not really sure which way you want to go, do the free trials, okay? Or get the free versions of something like MailChimp or HubSpot and just see how you go. Find one, and I say this to all my clients about all the systems, find one that when you look at it, you click. There's some sort of intuitiveness to the way they've done the interface that works for you. And it's not always the same for other people, okay? I look at MailChimp and yeah, I can work it out, but I don't want to have to work it out. I want to be able to look at it and understand it and just go, right? Which is why I use HubSpot. My brain just translates HubSpot into something useful and I can use it. It's easy to use for me, but maybe not for you, which is cool. Find one you like, dive into it, and then start using it because you'll look back and say, why didn't I do that a year earlier? Now, the other side of that equation is actual task management. Once you've got these clients coming on board, or these prospective clients showing interest, how do you manage everything that's going on? You want a system, okay? What do? You want a system where you can look at essentially one screen or one dashboard, and you've got all the balls that are in the air lined up so you know who's doing what, when, and what's supposed to happen next. Right? Think of it as like a big whiteboard, and you've got columns that track a client's journey from their initial contact with you through to the transaction is finished, if that ever happens, or they don't do business with you, whatever, when they fall out at the end. And you're tracking every stage on this whiteboard, and you've got post-it notes lined up for each client. And as they move from one stage to the next, you pick up the post-it note and you move it across. And on that post-it note, you've got written everything that needs to happen, and you've got a link to all the documentation that's associated with that particular client or that particular deal. Okay, so you can access everything from one little post-it note. Now, a task management system is simply a digital version of that, where you can see what's going on with everybody, you know where it's all up to, you can allocate tasks to the people who have to take care of them and still retain oversight, and that person has access to all the tools they need to make sure that task gets completed effectively and efficiently. Okay, again, ton of versions out there. Monday.com is quite prevalent. Trello, one of my favorites. ClickUp's another one. Asana is another one. There is a million of them, right? Dive into them, find one that you relate to. Now, personally, I use Trello because, again, my brain looks at it and goes, yeah, I know everything's where it's supposed to be. It makes sense. I also have ClickUp, but it's not quite as intuitive for me, despite the fact that it does exactly the same thing. Right? They're no different. I mean, they literally do exactly the same thing. It's just that with ClickUp, some of the buttons are in different places. And my brain, I've got to look. I sort of think it's going to be here, but it's down here, right? Whereas with Trello, it's right where it's supposed to be. And with Trello, when I first opened it up, it had by default a very cool leafy green background. I went, oh, that's nice. And then all the buttons were where I thought they would be, and so I use it. And you'll find too that it does everything I want to do. I've got a board for all the projects. I've got a board for our admin person, so they know what they've got to do, and it's not this constant backwards and forwards about what's going on. It's just clean and beautiful. Right, Asana, I've got the full all singing, all dancing version of Asana here for another project I work on. Again, it's a monster. Costs some money to drive, but it does the job beautifully. Everybody knows what's going on. You've got multiple projects with multiple moving pieces. There's no guesswork. And that's the big thing that you want. You do not want to have guesswork. You do not want to have somebody thinking, where are we up to with this? It needs to be a case of it should be at this stage, and you check with the person who's running it. Is it really here? Because here's where it's supposed to be. Okay. So again, task management, have one of those. There's a ton of free ones out there if you don't want to spend any money. Now, I'll just digress for 1 second here, which I do from time to time, as you would know. Let's talk about every time you reach into your pocket for your business. All right, we'll just a little bit off track, but this is important. Okay, I want you to take this on board. I want you to embed this in your consciousness. Every time you reach into your pocket to pay for something for the business, or the business pays for something, which is the same thing, I want you to be thinking return on investment. You are not spending money. Okay, you are investing in your business. Therefore, there must be a return on that investment. So why are we doing it? Okay, now I have a client who goes to a certain networking group, and he goes to these meetings because he likes the social interaction. He likes talking with other business people. They're not his ideal client, not by, oh my goodness, he might trip over one ideal client in 3 meetings at these things. It's just an entirely different demographic. But he likes speaking with these people, and he enjoys the social atmosphere of it. Okay, gets him out of the office. It's a good thing. And we're talking return on investment. I said, so you don't do any business out of these, do you? And he goes, oh, no. I said, cool. So what's the return on investment? Like, why are we spending this money in the business to do this thing? And he sort of looked at me. He goes, should I not be doing it? I said, well, hang on. Well, easy, Tiger. No. Why are we doing it? What's the return? And we started to talk about the mental health aspect of it, to give it an accurate description, is that it got him out of the office. So he chilled for a bit. He was hanging around similar people himself, so small businessmen who have similar challenges to him. So he got to talk about those and maybe get a little bit of offhand suggestion to try and solve some small problems in the business. A couple of people there, he actually bought things, like he did some marketing work with one of them, which was good. And that's been quite beneficial. Love seeing the results of that. Okay? But there's no actual cash return. And so we just phrased it and think about, okay, why are we doing this? If there's a benefit to the business, if there's a return on the investment of his time and a few dollars, then it's worth doing. But if there's none of that, then we need to find a different way of getting that return. So to come back to the start of it, yes, there was a return, but we had to think hard about it to make sure we were doing it properly. He also wanted to go and buy a new car to save tax. And we worked out that. We put a bullet in that real quick. It's like, mate, there's no return on that investment. That's silly. That's spending, that's actually cash out of your pocket for no benefit whatsoever. Right? So every time you pay, think return on investment, which is why I'm coming back to these 2 systems, my 2 pet systems, saying use the free trials, dive into them. And if they do the job, then run with it, because that then gives you more money, more resource to do other things to get a greater return. Okay, now for me, then this is the reason, I mean, we could easily pay for systems like HubSpot and like Trello, scale them up, but there's no point. We're getting functionality we don't need and diverting resources from where they're needed to a system where they're not needed. So we don't. So we use the free ones. And somebody asked me the other day, don't you feel cheap? I said, no, actually, I feel smart. Okay, I've got money going elsewhere in the business. The money that I should have spent on HubSpot and Trello, I actually put into marketing, which then gets me clients, which is the whole point of the exercise. That's a good return on investment. Okay, if you see what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying try the free versions, see if they fit, if they work, roll with it. If they don't, then we'll just have a hunt around and we'll find something else. Now, cash flow. Now we're getting into the meat of it. Okay, let's get comfortable. This is going to be fun. Cash flow. Cash makes the money go around. Now, with your business, there's three main financial documents that I really think you should have your head around. You should understand them. One is your profit and loss statement. You got to know what's going on. Okay, you have to, and that has to be accurate, and that has to be reliable, and you have to be able to believe that so you can make informed decisions. Okay, if that's not the case, then maybe you and I need to have a chat. Your balance sheet. Okay, your profit and loss statement builds your balance sheet, and those assets and liabilities as well in your balance sheet drive your cash flow, which powers your profit and loss statement. Right? They all rely on each other, they drive each other, and all together they will tell you how healthy your business is and what's happening where and when and where you need to take action. Okay. So number one rule, understand your financials, get your head around them. You do not have to be an expert. You do not have to be an accountant. My goodness, no, there are enough of those in the world already, but you do have to understand what the numbers are telling you. Okay. It is not negotiable at all. So cash flow, the actual lifeblood of your business. Now, I've got there research, structure, and process are keys. They are the key to your cash flow. Well, we're going to you're building a cash flow budget. Okay. Why? We spoke earlier about the fact that you've got a 3-year plan, and that's been broken down into initially a 12-month plan where we want to be at the end of the year. And when you say where we want to be, we're talking revenue, customer numbers. We're talking how big the business is, like maybe physical relocation. I've had that chat with a customer a couple of days ago. Okay. That's the plan. So how are we going to get there? Well, we have a marketing plan to find new customers and keep in touch with the existing ones, and we'll get to that in a sec. But cash flow, how are we going to get there? How are we going to fund all this stuff we want to do? All right, that's why you do it. So you can plan out and say, okay, in 12 months' time, here's where we want to be. Right, well, let's plan the cash flow. Let's set some targets around income and expenses, and let's try, and if we hit those targets, then we're at where we want to be, which is kind of the point of the exercise. Very cool. Okay. How do you do it? Awesome. You grab yourself, well, you can do it with pen and paper, actually, if you really want to. Okay. I won't stop you doing that. There are better ways, but pen and paper does work. Okay. So don't be afraid of that. But I use Excel. You can use Google Sheets. You can use Numbers, which is the Apple version of spreadsheets. Right? And there are some sexier stuff out there, but fundamentally, that's where you want to start. Now, I know your accounting software like Xero, MyOb, QuickBooks, they all have cash flow functionality where they'll map out where you're going to be in 12, 3, 6, 9 months' time. With all due respect, they are not cash flow budget planning tools. They look at historical costs, what expenses that the system knows you've got coming up, what outstanding accounts you have in your collection history to have a bit of a guess as to when that money's going to come in, to give you an idea of what your bank balance might look like for the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. There's not a lot of functionality in there that you will need to effectively plan the future of your business. So don't go there. Okay, just don't. What we're going to do is we're going to start, okay, how do you do it? We're going to start with your expenses. All right, and I just heard somebody at the back yell, "Boy, what about the revenue?" We'll get there in a sec, champ. Don't worry. But first, number one, you always start with your expenses. You start with your fixed costs. All right, and the reason for that is that we know we're going to incur these costs. So let's put them in there. And let's put them in there in the month when we're actually going to incur them, where we have to pay them. Okay, working with a client the other day, and they had their accounting bill spread over 12 months in their cash flow, which is fine if they pay their accountant every month. But they did point out they only pay the accountant in October after the tax return's done. So how about we just get rid of all the monthly expense and whack it in October, because this is all about the cash flowing in and out of your business. Then we look at production costs. Okay. If you're a manufacturer, you're definitely going to have production costs. If you're a retailer, you've got cost of goods sold. You've got to buy in stuff to then resell it. If you're a service-based business, it is quite possible that you have some expense which is directly tied to revenue, that in order to generate revenue, you must spend this money. There's a relationship, a direct relationship. Okay, so cool. Let's have a look at what they look like. Roll them out. And they may simply be a percentage of your revenue. So in Excel or in Google Sheets, that's a very easy formula to create, so that as you're putting in revenue, your cost of goods reflects what that expense is going to be. You may indeed do it the other way around. For example, this is a very cool example for a service-based business. I was working with somebody very early last year. And they are, gosh, for want of a better word, let's just call them a female leadership diva, entrepreneur, influencer person. Okay. They run lifestyle coaching and business courses and stuff. They do a lot of and this is all driven by online advertising. And they know for a fact that their return on advertising spend, their ROAS, is 4 times. If they spend $10,000 on a campaign this month, that they'll make $40,000 in revenue out of that over the next 3 months, but not in the first month. They get a little bit in the first month. The bulk of it comes in the second month when people see it and then commit and pay. And then they have a little bit trickle through in the second and third, in the third and fourth months. Okay, so if they spend now, if we're in March and they're going to invest $10,000 into an online campaign, they know that they'll get about $5,000 in revenue in March. They'll then get around about $30,000 in revenue in April, and then in May and June they'll get about 3 and 2, and it'll roll out at about 40 grand in rev from that $10,000 investment. And that's a pretty much accurate, from memory, that's a pretty much accurate mapping of the cash flow. So when you know that, you can very easily say, okay, here's where we're going to invest in the business, and here's where the income from that investment will come in. So you can build those formulas in, and that'll give you a really cool idea of where you're going. Okay. And then we have a look at our revenue. We say, okay, how many customers do we want? What sort of revenue target have we got? What does that look like in terms of product or services out the door? And you start having that conversation with your people, and you build it from there. Okay. And that way you'll wind up with a document that is a good, accurate, like a realistic representation of what you want the next 12 months to look like. Okay. Now, that on itself is a good start. Okay. With your cash flow budget, if you look at the one that I've got, which is opened up every day on my computer, because we generally have something change in our business in terms of customers coming in, or a new marketing initiative that we can look at and think about, another function we can go to meet people, or where we're asked to come along and speak. We have that happen here almost every day, which is great. Like, it's exciting. Okay, it's no, I'll tell you now, you can ask my fundamentally awesome admin assistant over there how exciting this office is. And assuming she doesn't throw something at me, she will probably, it's never a dull moment. Okay, there's always something going on. So we have our cash flow budget open in the back all the time. And it has 2 columns. It has a budget column, and then right next to it for the same month, it has an actual column. And that actual column is live. Every time somebody pays us, we put the revenue in. So it's live. Every time we incur an expense or we invest in the business to actually be more accurate, we put that investment into the investment side of the business so that our cash position is accurate. So we know where we're at any one time. Now, I'm not for one moment saying you need to do this in terms of that daily live document. What I am going to tell you is that I want you on Monday morning to take 10 minutes out of your day to open up your accounting system, download your bank statements, hit the reconcile button, do as much of that as you can, and then update your cash flow budget with real figures so that your actual versus budget data is live. Right, now, I have a number of my clients I meet with every month. It's really not coaching, it's more strategy and accountability. Okay, where are we at? What did we say we were going to do? What do the numbers look like? Because the numbers tell the truth. Okay, what do they look like? And I had one call me the other day to defer our meeting, and she said, have a guess at the revenue for this month. And excited, my goodness, it was like Christmas, birthdays, and Happy Easter all rolled into one. I said, I don't know. I threw a number at her. I was kind of not really, it was about 10% up on what I said. But I threw a number that she's never hit ever. Okay, she's seen it, but she's never reached that revenue target. She exceeded it last month. So that's cool. What did we do that was different? Was that our fault, or did we just get lucky? Right, and that's what we're going to talk about in a week or so. Okay, I'll have to think about that. And we're going to go through what did we do last month that generated this awesome record-breaking result, because it's record-breaking. It's awesome, I can tell you. It's great. And then we'll look, okay, if it's our fault, awesome, let's do that again. That was pretty cool. If it was stuff that was out of our control, okay, from a revenue point of view, that's nice, but we can't rely on it. So let's keep fighting the fight and doing what we do. Okay. From an expense point of view or an investment point of view, let's look at the numbers, actual versus budget. Where have we invested more than we planned on investing? Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Was it our fault or not? If it was our fault and it's a bad thing, let's not do that again. That's not very cool. If it's outside of our control, ignore it, move on. If you don't control it, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay, move on. You've got a plan, roll with it. If it's something that you can control and it's a bad thing, don't do it again. If it's something you control and had good outcomes, then that'll come back up in your revenue figures and be like, yeah, that was cool. Let's do that again. That's fine. All right. Adjust your targets because now the business has changed. Okay, our plans have changed. We're nimble, we're small, we can do that. Adjust your targets and away you go. Okay. So that's the review and updating. You keep it live, which is why we're doing it now. We're sitting down saying, okay, we're in March. We can see April from where we're standing, which means the end of the financial year is just over the horizon. Let's start thinking about what we want that 12 months to look like in terms of what we're going to invest in the business and what sort of revenue we're looking for, what sort of customer numbers we're looking for, what type of projects we want to do, all of that stuff. We start that conversation now rather than July, because I want to hit the 1st of July running. Okay, we are going to be on track for the next 12 months because that's what we do. Okay, so that's all the fun and games around cash flow. Right, so we've got our targets. Awesome. We've done all that really cool planning. We know what sort of numbers we want to have. We want to be money in the bank time. We've got that mapped out. Very exciting. Very cool. Now you need to reach your customers. You need to be effective and efficient, and you need to be systemic, okay, or systematic, whichever word you want to use. And the reason for that, okay, particularly the last one, is that your marketing plan, because we're talking marketing now, your marketing plan is not a let's try it this week flavor of the day approach to life. I can guarantee you that will fail. Without a shadow of a doubt, I can say that hand on heart, it will fail. Marketing is a medium to long-term play. The only reason you have a short-term, let's try it this week and see what happens, is because what's today? Today is Friday. It's because on Tuesday we're having a sale and we forgot to do anything about it. So let's just do a very short-term campaign to promote next Tuesday's sale. If you've got anything longer than that, okay, we're part of a long-term plan. We have a strategy, not a let's see what happens tomorrow approach to life in business. Okay, so we're all agreed this is a long-term plan. We're going to plan out the next 12 months. We have certain things in mind that we want to do. Now, marketing, again, research, structure, and process are key. It's the same old, same old. Okay, this is not fly by the seat of your pants. This is not let's put on a funny hat and go for coffee 5 times a day and think up stuff. This is a serious planned, structured approach to business. Okay. Now, the foundations, and here's one of today's twists. Now, if you had attended one of my workshops or webinars a couple of months ago, you will have seen me talk a lot about OMAC and AIDA. Okay, OMAC, which is the foundation of any marketing strategy. Okay, which is your offer, your audience, your message, and your channels. And then AIDA, which is basically the foundation of your message, which is attention, interest, desire, action, and then my nice little add-on, retention. And we'll dive right into that. So, OMAC, offer, audience, message, and channels. Let's talk about offer. Definition of a business is this awesome little machine that delivers a fantastic solution to a client's problem. Okay. Now, your offer is that fantastic solution in your words. Okay, what is it that you're offering the market? And I don't care if you write that in 3 words of 2 syllables or you do 4 paragraphs of left-handed Swahili, it doesn't matter. So long as you can sit down and articulate and document what your offer to the market is. What is it that you've got? Okay, if you were to look at this office here and think about what we do, we have, I think, about 4 or 5 actual offers. Okay, we are not a very narrow approach to business. There's a number of things that we do for our clients, a number of problems we solve. So we have different offers, which requires different descriptions, of course. Now you've got that, okay, you've sat down and you've mapped out what your offer is. And feel free to be as technical as you like, okay? It doesn't matter. It's you writing to yourself, okay? Think about your audience. Who is, and drum roll please, the old hackneyed cliche description, who is your ideal client? End drum roll. Now, ideal client is a term that gets thrown around a lot, along with usually with the word, what's the avatar of your ideal client in front of it? But it's important. I mean, it sounds a bit cartoonish and marketing 106, but it's very important that you have in your mind a picture of who you want to do business with. Because if you try to do business with everybody, you'll end up doing business with nobody. Cliche number 7 for the day. But it's very true. It's very, very true. You need to have a very clear idea of who you serve best, what problems you solve best, who has those problems. Okay, because that way we can then start thinking about how we write for them and where we find them. Okay. Now, let's put that into a personal sort of real situation. If you look at our office here, I often get asked, so what sort of clients are you looking for, mate? Like, who do you deal with? Which is a good question. I don't mind that question. We deal with small to medium-sized businesses. Okay, I have a passion for micros and startups, but really our ideal clients are micro-ish to small to mediums who want to grow. Okay, and so there's a little bit of a structure here. They're people who want to grow their business. Okay, which is not everybody. They are people who understand they can't do it on their own and don't want to do it on their own. And here's the kicker, boys and girls, and they are prepared to make the changes necessary to get to where they want to go. And that's the deal break. Okay, it's got to have all three components. Okay, we love you to death, and we will get you. We'll take you where you want to go. Okay, we will make it happen. But that third one, I've actually sacked clients because they wouldn't make changes. Okay, we're sitting in discussions, and we've got to a certain point where we've mapped out where we want to go. And then suddenly it's the case, oh, no, we can't change this and we can't change that because we like the way that is. Well, that's kind of sad because the way it is has got you where you've got and it won't get you to where you want to go. So we either put a bullet in the way it is and do something better and smarter and more effective, or I'll simply pack up my little suitcase and walk out the door. Okay, if they're not prepared to make the change, then there's no point in me being there. I'm just wasting my time and taking their money off them, which just I find a little bit frustrating, to be honest, a bit offensive. So you think about it in terms of your business. Who is it that you serve best? Who is your solution targeted for? All right, that's your audience. Okay. Now, to give you a little side story to that, you're not always going to do business with your ideal client. It happens. Okay, we're present at the moment. We've got a quote in front of an enterprise level customer. Okay, let's not muck about. They're beyond medium. They're certainly enterprise level. They're across a number of industries. They deal nationwide. They're big, and we have some contacts there who reached out to me and said, "Hey, these guys use these systems. They're paying for them. They're not using them effectively at all. They've got people in the business trying to develop stuff which duplicates what they've already got at half the effectiveness. Because they come in, fix this stuff, teach them all, train them, give them some support, and make it happen." Cool. Okay, happy to do that. It'll be a challenge because of the nature of the organisation, but it's a good challenge. It's not a bad thing. It's just going to take a certain way of doing stuff, which is fine. But that's well outside the scope of our ideal client. However, we've been invited in, and you always honour those sort of requests as best you can. So we'll look after it, and you will get that in your own business, where somebody will come to you and want you to fix their problems, and they are not your ideal client, but there is a compelling reason to do the business. So you do it. You smile nicely, bank the money, and move on, and hopefully learn something on the way through, which you can apply to your business later to benefit yourself. Okay, that's the whole plan. Right? So that's your audience. Okay, spend some time. Map out in your mind who it is you're best serving, and then we'll go from there, because the next bit is your message. Now, I'm going to skip forward a slide and then come back, because this next one is all about your message. Now, I eat R. Your message is your offer in language that your customers understand. Right now, I was told, what's today? Today's Friday. Wednesday morning, I was at a business breakfast, and it was pointed out to everybody who was there that you really need to write your content in language that is assessed as being year 5 school comprehension. And I sort of sat back for a second. I'm thinking, year 5? Really? Primary school level? They said, yeah, because the vast majority of studies show that if you pitch your language at that level, everybody's going to understand it. But as soon as you start cranking up into high school level comprehension, your audience is just going to drop right off. Okay. And it's not so much saying that people are stupid, right? It's not that at all. It's just that we don't have time to sit down and puzzle out what it is you're trying to say and interpret and comprehend the 32 paragraphs of really cool offer that you just put under our nose. What we want is a 1-paragraph message that tells us how you're going to make the pain go away. Okay, so you see what I'm saying is that the message is there to translate your offer into customer language. And there's some key components to your message, which are on the screen there now. Number one, you need to, obviously, you need to get people's attention. So you need a great hook, that opening line, that headline that grabs people's attention. You've got to have that. Number two, you've got to get their interest. So the content has to be of a flavour that they go, oh, hang on, this is actually interesting. Well, he's got something to say here. Okay, you need to create desire for them to take action. And then you need to give them a way, right, that action. You've got to give them a way to take action, a call to action. And by call to action, it could be as simple as a button. Click here to register. Okay, it could be simply for more information, go to this link. It could be a very simple, if you want help with this, just email me and I'll reach out and we'll work it out, or give me a phone call and we'll work it out. You have to give people a way that they can take action on their desire. And then there's retention, which is the last one, which I just threw in there. And I'll quite openly say that I'm borrowing that from an article I read on LinkedIn about a month ago, where I read it and went, oh, that person has put into language what I've been thinking for ages. Like, that's very true. I talk a lot about retention because we all know that selling to an existing client is 5 to 7 times cheaper than buying in new business, right, from a new client. So it makes sense to retain your client base. How clever is that? So I read a bit about that and thought, yes, I really should incorporate that and remind people that it is part of your message. Part of this message has to be around talking with your existing client base and retaining them and letting them know that you still care about them. Okay, now we'll just come back to action for a second. There is a marketing strategy. Gary Vee, for those of you who have bumped around in those circles, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a New York entrepreneur, very much now into the NFT space and online marketing. But he's put out a book, and his theory was hook, 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 or so jab, 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 hook. 3 messages, just content, free content, just give content, and then ask for the business. All right, with a big hook. Okay, that's cool. But it's actually, the world has moved on a bit. It's much smarter now, not so much jab hook as in just put the plate in front of them and then put them in a headlock until they decide to eat. Okay, you've gone to all the effort of getting their attention. You've got them interested in what you've got to say, and here's the key, boys and girls. You've created desire. Okay, well done you. Okay, they want to do business with you. They want you to solve their problem. Wouldn't it be smart to put a call to action, give them a way they can act on that? So every time, if you ever look at the content that I put out, every time at the bottom there is, hey, if you want help with this, if you're really keen and you think you can do it, but you want somebody else to give you a hand, or you've got no idea where to start, it doesn't matter, reach out to me here. Shoot me a note and we'll jump on board and get this going for you. Okay? Very simple. And then again, retention. Think about your existing client base in all of this. Okay? Craft messages that also tap into them and say, hey, listen, all right, we're not just throwing money at the new guys, we're thinking about you as well. So if we go back, that's our message. And then channels, all right? Channels, where do your clients hang out? Okay, it's a bit of a funny phrase. Where do they get their education and entertainment from is probably another way of looking at it. Okay, if you were to sit in this office here in this chair, you would realize that I get my education and entertainment from LinkedIn, sometimes from Facebook, although I think I'm more laughing at them than with them on Facebook sometimes. Very little from Instagram, less from Pinterest, and precisely nothing from TikTok or anywhere else. Okay, if you wanted to reach out to me and get my interest, you really need to have something on LinkedIn that gets in front of me, or perhaps in one of the 53, I think I counted this morning, Facebook groups business Facebook groups that I'm part of. Okay, that's where I can be reached. Or, and this is something not to be sneezed at, or you stick a flyer in my letterbox. Who'd have thought? Let's just talk about that for a second. Now, I know this is digital solutions and all that really cool stuff, but let's just talk about that for a second. I get a bit of junk mail every month, or every week actually, right? It's about yay round, wrapped up with elastic bands and stuff, and it's got all this, basically, it's junk, right? It's advertising material from retailers here in town. And next week, I'll get another pile about the same size from pretty much the same people. And I'll probably get some the week after that, and there's a good chance I'll get some the week after that. Now, these people are smart business people, right? They run big companies. They don't have money to burn. They watch their ROI very carefully. They're like you and me, right? They want the return on that investment and they measure it. But they keep putting stuff in my letterbox, which I don't read. Okay, my recycling bin gets a good feed every week. You know why they keep doing it? Because it works. Okay, they measure what happens there and they know that it works. So you think about channels, old school, physical paper. Is that a way that you can reach your ideal clients? I had this discussion with a restaurant just around the corner here under the previous owner, who has sadly gone broken. It's now been opened up by somebody else. But I spoke to him when he was struggling. I said, mate, look, for one, plug into the program and I'll give you 3 hours for basically no money at all. But initially, straight off the bat, I've never seen one of your menus in my letterbox. You're a restaurant in a suburban area. Number one marketing tool is put your menus in everybody's letterbox. Otherwise, they simply won't notice you, because everybody else will do that and you'll just be off the radar. He never did it. And that's one thing that probably would have saved him, I believe. Because people kind of knew, but the vast majority of people, and honestly, he had a ton of his ideal clients within a 10-minute walk of where he was set up. They didn't even know he existed. Okay, because he just tried a little bit of Facebook stuff and that was it. Gone for all money. Gone for all money. So think about channels, think about how you reach your ideal clients. Where do they find stuff out? How do they sit back and chill and get entertained? All right, where are you going to reach them? Another one, again, conversation this morning with another client around business expos and trade shows. Now, 1 year, I went to 20 trade shows in about 10 months, simply to see where our ideal clients there. Was there the opportunity for us? Would it be worth our while to turn up and do business there and make that part of our long-term marketing strategy? Okay, some yes, some no, but until you go, you don't know. And we're talking about some of the small business expos here in Southeast Queensland. And the fact that the ideal client for this person was not necessarily the people walking into the expo, it was the actual exhibitors, established businesses who had problems that she could solve and solve really, really well. She's very good at what she does. My goodness. Okay. So you think about where you're at. Where can you meet your ideal client? We come back to another client who deals very much at an enterprise level, small business, but his problem solving is for people at an enterprise level. I said, well, mate, what you need to do is get to conferences and trade shows where these guys hang out. And sadly, they are predominantly white males. Okay, it's just the nature of the game. Go to these conferences where these guys are hanging out, meet them, simply with the aim of saying, hi, here I am, here's my card, can I have your card? I'll give you a call in a week once all the dust has settled from this show, and we'll have a chat about how maybe we can help each other. That's all you need to do. You do that for 40 people, you'll get 5 to 7 clients out of that. I would suggest, based on my experience with trade shows and this client market in particular, you'll pick up 5 to 7 leads out of that. That's 12 months work, which it is for this particular client. Happy days. He's off there. He's down there now, okay, marching around, and he's doing good. But again, LinkedIn will probably reach them, maybe. Facebook, definitely not a chance, okay? But at a conference where you've got them all in the one room, talking business kind of, but also a bit relaxed because they're catching up with some mates and making some new acquaintances and just doing that whole renewal of relationship thing. And he's just kind of come in with a light touch. It's no sales pitch. It's, hey, how you doing? Cool. Catch up with you next week and we'll just have a chat about how maybe I can help you and we can solve each other's problems. So channels. It's not necessarily Facebook. It's not necessarily LinkedIn. It's not necessarily digital. Think about where you can meet your clients. Right? Networking groups, it's a classic. Okay. We've either bumped into a Chamber of Commerce or BNI or KBN or BX or the small business groups that exist everywhere. That's a way of perhaps finding your ideal client or meeting people who know your ideal clients and can refer them to you. Okay, don't discount them. Now, wow, we are just about out of time here today. So there's that. Here's another bonus that I didn't talk about yesterday, AI, when it comes to creating content. I've got 6 content creations there. Yeah, ChatGPT is the flavor of the minute. All right. Don't ignore all the others. All right. There are people who have been there earlier and doing it very well. Hemingway is a gem. Grammarly also will do plagiarism checks. Why, Kelby, am I talking plagiarism checks? Because if you get your content created by a VA in the Philippines, India, Perth, Bahamas, whoever, wherever, okay, you're not creating it, somebody else is, and you want to make sure that it's original content that you're paying for, run it through Grammarly and it will pick up plagiarism for you. Awesome little trick. Okay, also it will identify, I think Grammarly is the one that will identify how much AI is in there. Okay, now having said that, how much AI is in there? Yes, I have used some of these and I regard them as very useful. Great starting points for creating content. Great starting points. But you've got to stay on brand with your content, with your communications. So every time I get something out of something like ChatGPT or Hemingway, I rewrite it a little bit into my language. If it's using words and phrasing that I would never use, I change it. Okay, it's still making sense. It's still content that my ideal clients will relate to. But when they read it, they realize that I've written it. It doesn't look robotic. Okay. Having said that, what was I just thinking? There's one more little bit of AI I wanted to mention to you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was a 7th. It'll come to me. I'll mention it before we close. Okay, but use them as starting points. Okay, dive in. Don't be afraid. Okay, they don't bite. Right? It's a really cool way of kicking things along. Right. No, I can't think of it. For those of you who want me to try and remember it, just send me an email and I'll see if I can remember the bit I was going to talk about. It's around plagiarism. Anyway, here's the thing. When you're doing all that, it's a great opportunity, right? So these next couple of months, when you're sitting down planning out where you want the next financial year to go, what you want to look like, think about improvements you can make to your business, strategies to build repeat business, okay? Your CRM will be a big hand. It's got to be part of your marketing strategy. It has to be part of your cash flow. Your existing clients are the cheapest clients to do business with, okay? Make no mistake about that, okay? Cash flow, right? When you're mapping your cash flow out and you're thinking, hang on, we mapped it out and the sales figures are where they're supposed to be, but the revenue is not matching up. Okay, or the sales figures is fine, the revenue is fine, everything is fine, but we haven't got the money in the bank. Where's it getting clogged up? This process will help you identify that, and then you can make the changes necessary. If you get stuck, give me a call. Okay, this is stuff we specialize in here. The big thing is that you, especially using task management systems, is you can delegate tasks to the people who have the capability and the capacity to get them done, because you don't want to have to do everything yourself. Okay, delegate them, keep oversight. Happy days. Your team will grow, your business will grow. Okay, and that's the whole plan, the whole point of all of this. Okay, so making the magic happen, that's up to you. All right, that's on your plate. By all means, you can delegate some of that, but ultimately, okay, the business will reflect where you're at. So that's it. Exit stage left. I'm out of here. That has been another webinar. Thank you very much to AusIndustry and Business Station for delivering the Digital Solutions program. It is, as I've said 100 times before, it is the best small business advisory program in Australia. You get access to some of the best business advisors in the country for virtually no money at all. Those of you who registered, you would have already got the email from me inviting you to join up with Digital Solutions and take advantage of our last few weeks. For those of you who haven't, jump on board now. There's also access to my ebook around cash flow hacks to help you plan out your cash flow. Please jump into that. And there's my contact details. If you want a hand with any of this, if you just want to dive in and get a few pointers, shoot me a note. Don't be shy. I will reply to your emails, guarantee. I don't mind that at all. All right, dive in. Hope to see you. Hope to have a chat to you later. Apart from that, go well, go hard, and I will see you at the next webinar. Cheers, guys.